Hello everybody and welcome back. Now let us just perform the blind command injection, or should I say, let me show you how to find out if a certain website is vulnerable to the blind command injection instead of just the command injection. So now what I mean by blind command injection is basically, as you can see, if we go right here to the website once again, so let me just, it says that there is an error. To display, Firefox must send information that will repeat any action such as research, resend, whatever. I'm not really sure what's the problem. I basically just started recording. Let us just connect once again to the machine. So 192.168.1.6 I believe it was. And let us go to the damn vulnerable web application once again. Come on, will you connect? So let's just let this connect, and let me just explain you the blind command injection is basically when you can't really see the output of your command. So in our previous example, we actually could be able to see the output of the ping command and also the output of the command that we specified after the pinging command. Now, in some cases, you won't be able to see the output. It will basically maybe just print you your server was pinged correctly or something like that, and even if it is vulnerable to the command execution, it might not show it in the output. So the best way to do that is by pinging your own machine from that server, and then opening and inspecting the packets in the Wireshark in order to see if it pinged correctly. Now I'll show you what I mean. Let me just see why this isn't connecting. Let's see if we are, maybe it's because we are still on the virtual machine. So in order to exit that virtual machine, just click here exit, and you basically stop the connection to the victim machine. Now let me just ping our router to see if we are on the internet, and we are. So the problem is not with this machine, the problem is with the victim machine. But as we can see, it loaded. So let's go to the command execution once again, and let's pretend that once you type here 192.168.1.1, it doesn't give you any output. Now here it will give you, since we do not have an example of blind command injection right here. But let's pretend it didn't give us any output and it pinged our router. Now, in order to check if this is vulnerable to the blind command execution, the most common method would be to ping two machines. So 192.168.1.1, which is a legit command, and it is made, and this server is made to ping one IP address. But if we specify another IP address in the next command, so ping, and then the IP address of our Kali Linux machine, the server that isn't vulnerable shouldn't be executing this command. It should only execute this command. But if it is vulnerable, it will execute both of these commands. Now be careful, since this is our OS machine is Linux machine, and if you just run this command, it will ping your machine forever. So you will just basically have to restart it in order to start pinging. So just type here -C, which stands for count, and 3. So this basically means it will only send 3 pinging packets, as in this output right here. So let me just show you. If we open our terminal and ping 192.168.1.1, it will ping forever until we stop this program. But if you type here ping 192.168.1.1 -C3, it will only ping it 3 times, and it will stop. Now we want to run that on the target server, so we don't ping ourselves forever. But before we run that, we will need to run a tool called Wireshark. So just type in your terminal Wireshark. The Wireshark is basically a tool that allows us to inspect our packets on a certain network interface. Now, as soon as you open it, you will see a bunch of packets flowing. Just click here. If you get this error, click here on OK. And let me just see, my interface is ETH0, and once you open it, you should be seeing some packets right here. I'm not really sure why I don't see them. Let's just try by Why doesn't this want to move? Wait, what are you doing? Okay. And here we can see the one packet. Why is there not other packets? So let me just try to ping 192.168.1.1. Oh yes, this is the terminal that I ran my Wireshark in, so this won't work. Let us just open another terminal and try to ping 192.168.1.1. And here we can see a bunch of ICMP packets flowing around, so that is good. This is the pinging packet, as we can see echo ping request and echo ping reply from our router. Now that you opened this and went onto your network interface, which for me was ETHO, now you want to execute this command and basically click here submit. And once this is finished, you won't see this output that we see since it is blind, but you will be able to see if someone pinged you in Wireshark. Now let's stop it. So you just stop the capturing packets on this red button right here, and you can then inspect all of the packets that you received in that certain amount of time. Now these first ping requests are something we ran on our terminal and we pinged our router, but we can find out that that website or the OS machine is vulnerable to command execution by these ping requests right here. So as we can see, there are 3 ping requests as we specified in this server with the -C3 command, and we got the reply from the OS virtual machine, which IP address is 192.168.1.6. So that means if you got this ICMP packet right here, that means that the website is vulnerable to the command injection. Now, another thing you might need is, for example, if you have a bunch of packets flowing around, there's a lot of them, you can filter it out by typing ICMP right here, and you will only see the pinging packets. Let me just, as we can see, first 4 packets are basically the packets that we use to ping our router, and this is the output from our command injection. So by this we know that the machine is vulnerable, and we can proceed with the same process as in the previous video in order for that vulnerable machine to connect to our own machine. Now I just wanted to show you that in the command injection you will most likely have the visible ones, since it must give some kind of the output. But before I finish with the command injection, I just want to tell you a few things, which is the command injection. First of all, it can be done both over GET and POST requests. The example that we had right here was the POST request, I believe. Let me just check right here. Let me just check it right here by typing in the IP address of our router and then intercepting the packet. I believe this is a POST request open. So here we have, and we can see right here, yes, it is a POST request. So this was an example of POST request command execution. You can also have it as a GET request. And also, with GET request, the user input will be sent within the link. So that's how you can differentiate the POST from the GET request. If this was a GET request, we will have this IP address that I typed here somewhere in the link right here. But since this is a POST request, we do not have it. Now, as we saw in the POST request, the IP address was sent within the HTTP body, as we can see right here. Here it is. And there are also some of the other values in HTTP headers that can be potential threat to the command injection. Now, some of them are, for example, cookies, user agent, as we can see this right here. Refer can also be sometimes vulnerable to the command injection. And also, as we saw, the command injection can be either visible or invisible. We covered both of those, both visible and both invisible, and I want to show you another very famous command injection vulnerability, which is called shell shock. Now, shell shock if you were to boot your OS virtual machine into live version, it would print out the current uptime of the server, which means it executed something similar to the uname-a command. So if we will not cover that right now, since it is very similar to these two attacks, but if you were to boot this machine into the live version, you would see once you visit the IP address of that machine, it will print out the uptime of that machine. For example, the machine is running for 3 hours. Now, that means that it executed some kind of a command in the terminal in order to show us that option, which means it could be potentially vulnerable to the command injection. But if you want to check out the shell shock, you can search on it on the internet and read more about it. And you can also, if you're familiar with the MSF console, you can also use its module in the MSF in Metasploit framework. I believe it is called something like exploit HTTP Apache mode. I'm not really sure. Let me just check out right here once the MSF console opens up. That will show you. Now, we didn't cover the Metasploit yet, but just follow up with what I'm doing right now. It shouldn't be that hard to do so. As we will not be exploiting, I will just show you some of the options that Shellshock has, or this module in Metasploit. So we want to use exploit multi HTTP, I believe, and then Apache mode, and then I just tabbed to complete this. So once you use that, you can type here show options, and it will give you some of the options that you need to specify in order to use this vulnerability. As we can see, the vulnerability is CVE 2014-6271. Now, as I told you, the part of the header that it is attacking is the user agent part, so it will send the... Let me just close Wireshark since we don't need it anymore. It will send the vulnerability command, the vulnerable command, to the user agent field in the HTTP header. The method that this uses is get method. We need to specify the rhosts, which is the victim machine, which is in our case our OS machine. You also need to specify the target URI, and you do that by basically just going to the target's IP address once it is booted into live mode. And after you do that, you can also set the target, and you can just type here exploit, and it should run. Now, I didn't specify anything, so this won't run for me. I will just close it right here and close the Metasploit. I just wanted to show you that that exists as well. And that would be basically about all about the command injection. And in the next videos, we will start off with the SQL injection, which is the #1 vulnerability on websites. And if you encounter something, it will probably be the SQL injection. It is very dangerous and very common, especially in the smaller websites, as they do not filter their user input that well. And we will do that, and I will show you all of the practical ways to attack that in the next few lectures. And I hope I see you there, and take care. Bye.